The President of the United States is the head of the greatest power in the world and, for that very reason, there are not a few enemies on the prowl. Today, the cutting edge of warfare technology is in the air and aerial threats are positioned as one of the biggest security concerns. That is why today we will tell you what happens if an unidentified plane flies near Air Force One, the aircraft in charge of transporting the President of the United States, and invades its airspace. Are you ready? Let's get started. Today we are talking about Joe Biden, but throughout history, an enormous number of American presidents have flown on Air Force One since, in 1943, Franklin Roosevelt became the first airborne commander-in-chief. Although it is possible to think that the term Air Force One refers to the planes themselves, in reality, it is a radio call name that is used to designate any plane in which the president travels. Only when he is on board that call sign is adopted, otherwise the aircraft is considered as a simple civil plane. Commonly, it is the Boeing 747, but seriously modified. The aircraft that serve as Air Force One differ from the common Boeing 747 by their size, features, and security measures. However, despite carrying the country's most important figure inside, these famous aircraft have no offensive capabilities. This is so because along its wings are offensive escort planes that protect the president during the flight. There are also additional backup fighter aircraft available in any emergency and that can be quickly deployed. But the fact that Air Force One does not have weapons inside does not make it a weak plane, quite the opposite. There are a large number of features that make it a unique, special aircraft and, above all, safe. But before we review its most impressive qualities, let's see what measures are taken against threats and violations of the presidential airspace. If an unidentified plane flies near the president and its pilot does not respond to air traffic control calls, an alarm goes off at the Air National Guard base. There are the combat pilots in charge of reacting to any unexpected situation. These men are alert and ready to act 24 hours a day. Instantly receiving the signal, and with no time to lose, the pilots rush to the runway while finishing dressing on the way. Finally, they board their F-16 aircraft, ready to intercept. In just a few minutes, they reach the target and begin to surround it. At first, the pilots are limited to warning that it is a restricted airspace. The main goal is to escort the unidentified plane and take it out of the no-fly zone. However, the intruding aircraft may not respond to this warning. In those cases, the F-16 is ready to perform any bold maneuver and pounce on the target. The fighter pilots provide one last warning and fly away from the scene, hoping to finally be followed by the suspected attackers. But what happens if after all that they fail to drive them away? Simple. The threatening plane is shot, so that it cannot reach the president. But all this deployment may fail, and Air Force One may be at risk of attack anyway. For this reason, in addition to needing a defense plan that does not directly involve Air Force One, it is essential to have an aircraft that has the necessary characteristics to keep the country's highest authority away from any situation that puts his life at risk. Next we will tell you the main qualities that make it so surprising. Starting with the details of its facilities, Air Force One has 2 large floors and its interior is reconfigured to carry out the different presidential tasks. The lower area of these planes serves mainly as cargo space, where luggage and food supplies are carried. Fully loaded, this plane can store food and clean water for a total of 2,000 people. Furthermore, this aircraft has the ability to fly well above the limit of a common commercial unit and is intended to remain in the air indefinitely. Taking off on full fuel allows it to travel the skies continuously for approximately 15 hours, though the plane features an in-air refueling connection. Thanks to this, it can fly virtually as long as it takes. As if that were not enough, Air Force One has an extremely elaborate security system. For obvious reasons, much of this information is classified, but what is known reveals its fascinating defensive capabilities. If the aircraft falls victim to an attack despite previous attempts to stop it, an infrared countermeasure system is in place to deflect incoming missiles. and an AAR-54 missile launch warning receiver is located on the tail of Air Force One. It is an ultraviolet imaging sensor that passively detects UV energy, tracks multiple sources, and quickly classifies them as a lethal or non-lethal missile. This technology is essential and greatly compensates for the lack of weapons inside the presidential aircraft. Air Force One also doubles as a nuclear bunker. Despite the fact that the president has an anti-atomic shelter following him at all times, the great resistance of the material with which this plane is built makes it an essential bunker in case of a possible nuclear attack. This is so because the body of the aircraft has a lot of heavy shielding that helps prevent electromagnetic damage. Another of the characteristics that makes it a unique aircraft is linked to the possibility of communication within its facilities. The information that is shared on the plane cannot be intercepted due to the use of an encryption and anti-radar system. While on board, it is essential that the president be able to access open lines of communication so as not to lose contact with his environment, much more so if he is involved in an emergency. A considerable amount of electronic devices usually accompany during the trip. Through the various telephones, computers, and radios, government personnel can securely communicate with anyone they need to. Keeping these systems active is paramount, so any available line is encrypted. Should Air Force One enter territory considered dangerous, it will be pre-equipped with high-capacity scramblers to jam the radar of nearby aircraft. This not only protects it from possible attacks, but also allows the president to keep his location hidden if necessary. But it is not only safety that matters during the flight, it is also mandatory to be extra careful when on the ground. For this reason, when the president is about to land or take off, air traffic controllers do not allow other aircraft to land or take off from the same runway. They are even capable of stopping the activity of the entire airport for 15 minutes before the departure or arrival of Air Force One. In addition, to avoid all types of risk, this aircraft does not need to make use of the other airport facilities in addition to the runway. Its retractable stairs allow access to the lower deck, and a self-contained baggage loader makes it easy for passengers to climb on board. These were some of the main characteristics of the incredible Air Force One and its security measures against the invasion of its airspace. We've reached the end of our video, and we want to thank you for joining us. We will meet again in the next episode of Military Aviation to continue sharing content like this.